Good morning again, everyone.
Energy and Energy Efficiency Project Identification Forum being hosted by the CARICOM
Development Fund in collaboration with the Grenada Development Bank. I would just like to recognize the presence of the CEO of the
Mr. Rodinald Suma, the General Manager of the Grenada Development Bank, Mr. Royston Cumberbatch, the CEO of the Grenada Investment Development Corporation, Ronald Theodore, the regulatory engineer at the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Rahim Elliott, Mr. Andre Escalante, the Managing Director of Energy Dynamics, specially invited guests with us, staff at the CARICOM Development Fund and the Grenada Development Bank, registrants and members of the media. Thank you for being here today. And before I move to the national anthem, I would just like everybody in this room to give themselves a lusty round of applause. And why I ask for that is because you are here today and we know that you are very, very interested and committed to strengthening your businesses, making them more climate resilient and more sustainable. So thank you for that. And now we move to the national anthem as we pay homage to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. I invite you to stand. You may be seated. And just to get this detail in there, I didn't introduce myself, but I am Ria Marie, the Communications Officer of the Grenada Development Bank. I will be your Master of Ceremonies for today. We now, to invite God's presence, I invite Archdeacon Michael Marshall.
Kindly stand as we reverence Almighty God. Let us pray in the name of God, who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Gracious and eternal God, we thank you for the gift of this day and for the opportunity to gather at this CRAF forum. We are grateful for the vision of the Credit Risk Abatement Facility and the work of the CARICOM Development Fund, which seeks to strengthen the region and uplift those most in need. Lord, bless this initiative. Grant wisdom to those who lead, knowledge to those who share, and understanding to all who listen and engage. May the aims of this forum to reduce risks, expand access, and build resilience be realized for the benefit of small and medium-sized enterprises and the communities they serve. Guide every stakeholder to embrace collaboration for the common good. May the dialogue today inspire action that advances renewable energy, energy efficiency, and inclusive development across the Caribbean family. Teach all gathered here to be faithful stewards of the resources you have provided, using them responsibly and with vision so that the work accomplished will bring lasting benefits to generations yet to come. Bless every participant, every idea shared, and every decision made. May this forum be a catalyst for innovation, resilience, and hope throughout CARICOM member states. And this prayer we ask in the name of Christ Jesus, our Lord. Amen.
You may have your seats. Thank you, Archdeacon Marshall. So now we move to welcome remarks. And to give those welcome remarks, I invite Mr. Rodinald Suma, who is the CEO of the CARICOM Development Fund, our partners here today. I would also like to recognize the presence of the Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Honorable Karine James. So over to you, Mr. Suma.
Thank you, Mistress of Ceremonies. Honorable Karine James, Minister for Climate Resilience, Environment and Renewable Energy, other representatives of the Government of Grenada, our valued partners at the Grenada Development Bank and ACP Caribbean, I hope they come in at some point, heads of national institutions and agencies, distinguished guests, entrepreneurs, members of the media, very good morning to all. Now, the moderator established the protocol, which is why I was very general in greeting you this morning, but allow me to go off script just a bit to recognize two of the former members of the board of the CDF who are seated at this table right in front of me, Nigel John and Kira Ed Simpson, and to let them know that I am comforted that they are no longer in a position to assess my performance. I must first express my pleasure at returning to the Isle of Spice. I was here not too long ago, probably right in this room. And on this occasion for the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Project Identification Forum organized by the CARICOM Development Fund, the CDF. Our theme, Transforming SMEs by Unlocking Financing and Accelerating Sustainable Energy Projects, is more than just a banner over this gathering. It is a statement of intent. I say this with some level of conviction because, as I hope you will get to understand during today's launch, the CDF's Credit Risk Abatement Facility, or CRAF as we call it, is purpose-built to have a transformative impact on the thrust towards energy transition for small and medium-sized businesses in the CARICOM region. But like similar forums, which I'm sure many of you have attended before, the success or failure of this CRAF project identification forum, or the PIF as we call it, will likely turn on one single question: does anything happen afterwards? My answer and my commitment to you this morning is absolutely yes. This is the whole intention. By the time our team leaves Grenada, I expect that projects will be identified, businesses will be matched with appropriate and viable financing options, and we will be well on our way to developing and implementing a robust pipeline of bankable transactions in renewable energy and energy efficiency that all of us in the CRAF ecosystem, and you are all part of that ecosystem in Grenada, can point to with a sense of accomplishment and pride. Allow me, therefore, a brief word on why the CARICOM Development Fund is driving this initiative. When CARICOM member states created the CDF in 2008 under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, which establishes the CARICOM Single Market on Economy, under Article 158 to be precise, they gave us a clear mandate to level the playing field for the countries, regions, and businesses that face structural disadvantages within the CSME. Two elements of that mission bring us to St. George's today. The first is mobilizing financing and investment across the region. The second is helping enterprises become more competitive. We have come to learn, and that lesson is underscored in the current geopolitical context, that there is hardly anything that undermines the competitiveness of a Caribbean business quite like its electricity bill, and nothing that would enhance its viability more decisively than implementing a solution that would permanently reduce that driver of your high operating cost. Grenada knows this reality intimately. Nearly all of the energy that drives this economy arrives by tanker, paid for in foreign exchange, at prices set far beyond these shores. Every hotelier, every agro-processor, every farmer, and every fisher carries that cost in their margins. The Credit Risk Abatement Facility, the CRAF, was built precisely to address that problem where it hurts most, at the point where a small business tries to finance its way out of it. And what better place to make that case than in Grenada? This is a country that has set itself an ambitious emissions reduction target for 2030 under its nationally determined contribution, that is probing the promise of geothermal energy, and that is steadily expanding its solar footprint. The national policy direction has been set. Our role at the CDF is to make sure that the private sector can travel that road too, and that CRAF is one of the vehicles we have built to take you on that journey. There is no shortage of ambition among small and medium-sized enterprises to engage in making that energy transition. The issue has been the difficulty of obtaining financing from local financial institutions to match that ambition. Lenders, quite properly focused on managing risk, have tended to view clean energy projects as unfamiliar territory and small firms as less than creditworthy. The result is a gap between what our SMEs want to do and what they can finance. And that gap has held back both business growth and the wider energy transition across the economies of the region. Closing it requires the financial sector to step forward as a full partner, and it requires an instrument that makes it safe for them to take that step forward. That missing instrument and mechanism in the market is the CRAF. Just to be clear, governments cannot carry the energy transition alone, and neither can development institutions like the CDF. The decisive contribution will come from the private sector, from the people in this room who have the risk appetite to build and grow businesses that generate economic value, both for domestic consumption and export, and in the process create jobs and livelihood opportunities. You are where the region's energy future will actually be decided, and the positive impacts of achieving energy security and sustainability will be felt the most. And that is why SMEs are the primary targets and beneficiaries of this PIF. The good news is that in Grenada, the groundwork has already been laid. 2 financial institutions serving this market have signed master guarantee agreements under the CRAF. ACB Caribbean and the Grenada Development Bank. And in the case of the Grenada Development Bank, that signature was witnessed at the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum held last year, right in this space. In practical terms, that means a Grenadian business owner or manager walking into either of these financial institutions today will find a lender that has the backing to finance your sustainable energy project. We will be featuring an overview of the CRAF. Let me just give you a snapshot of what this facility has delivered across our member states so far. 8 financial institutions in 6 CDF member states now stand as CRAF partners, and several more are at due diligence stage. Alongside them, more than 140 bank staff have been trained to appraise energy projects properly. A lender that understands your project is a lender far more likely to fund it. More than 50 SMEs have received hands-on project development support, and I know this is particularly important to you. Energy audits have been carried out, systems designed, financing proposals, bankable proposals prepared to the standard that the banks expect. Businesses that once had only an idea now have documents that a credit committee can evaluate and approve. $530,000 in guarantees have been approved, which in turn has released over $800,000 in loans for energy investments across the region, with a further pipeline exceeding $1.25 million currently under review. A little over half of the enterprises we have supported are owned or led by women. That outcome is by design, because an energy transition that leaves a significant number of our entrepreneurs behind cannot truly be considered as transformative. All of the technical work that has been carried out by local firms and experts accredited under CRAF have been done in the Caribbean. The audits, the designs, the proposals, every dollar spent on that expertise has remained in the hands of Caribbean service providers. Some of them are here today. And in the process, this has provided the opportunity to deepen that technical capability in the Caribbean region. The interesting thing about this, and I'm just going to speak about it just briefly, is that if you have an energy service provider working with you in doing your energy audit or preparing a bankable proposal, that person can be from Grenada or could be from any other CARICOM country. So once they are accredited to CRAF, we have them shortlisted and they can provide you that service. So we build that capacity in the region, and this truly is rolled out as a regional initiative. So that is part of the track record that we now place at the service of Grenada. And that is built on 3 mutually reinforcing pillars. I'll just mention them because we'll speak a little bit about them in the presentation. A credit risk instrument that allows us to give the banks the capacity to provide a partial credit guarantee that covers up to 80% of the value of your loan. A technical assistance program, which you are going to benefit from directly today when the appointments are made if your business is to assess your project and to provide you with that free technical support. And thirdly, a monitoring framework that stays with the program after disbursement, tracking savings and performance so that both you as an entrepreneur and your lender can see the investment paying for itself while you contribute to the target of reducing emissions and positively impacting the climate action agenda. Now, to the small businesses that are here at this forum, I want to make a direct appeal to you to embrace this opportunity. If electricity is one of the largest lines in your operating costs, and for most of you it is, then a solar installation, an efficient chiller, upgraded refrigeration, or modern equipment is not just an environmental gesture. It is a commercial decision and among the soundest ones available to you. You feel it in your bottom line. Every unit of energy you generate yourself or no longer waste because you're more energy efficient converts directly into cash flow, and it keeps converting every month for the life of the system. That is money for a new hire, a second location, a stronger balance sheet, and a business that is no longer as concerned when oil prices spike. Two things have stood between you and that investment: the financing and the technical expertise. As of today in Grenada, both are being provided by virtue of the CRAF. The partial credit guarantee addresses the first, and the free technical assistance addresses the second. The only ingredient that the CRAF cannot supply is your decision to come forward, but it provides the incentive for you to do so. So come forward. Our CRAF team is in Grenada. You probably met some of them already. The registration there, right here. And beyond this forum and over the coming days, they will be visiting businesses across the island. So please invite them in, register for your visit, put your energy bills on the table, tell them what you have been wanting to do, and let them show you how to get it financed. Let me close by speaking quickly to the broader context. When enough Grenadian enterprises make this shift, the effect compounds. Operating costs fall, competitiveness rises, foreign exchange stays at home, and the economy as a whole becomes more resilient. A country famed for its nutmeg, its beauty, and its warmth adds one more distinction: an economy powered increasingly by the sun, by the earth, and by the enterprise of its people. That is the Grenada that this energy transition initiative is meant to help build. I just want to correct Kyra's name before I end, because I know she looked at me when I mispronounced her name. Unless your name has changed, it's Kyra Thompson Aird. So now you can give me a good evaluation. So thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just another forum, as I've tried to say. This is happening, it's real. The players in the ecosystem have been onboarded, and they're now available to work with you in Grenada to make this happen. So thank you very much for your attention.
Although, yes, I was just about to say Mr. Suma was going to introduce a video, so I now invite you to look at the screen for a video interlude.
CRAF. CRAF. It stands for the Credit.
So just some challenges. We're hearing the audio, but not seeing the video.
CRAF. It stands for the Credit Risk Abatement Facility. Why should you remember these letters? Well, if you are a small to medium-sized business owner like me and need to lower your electricity costs, CRAF can help you fund your transition to a renewable energy and energy-efficient operation. Need LED lighting? Want to get off the grid? Want to buy equipment that is safer for the environment or uses less energy and lowers your monthly expenses? Well, talk to your financial institution and ask them about CRAF. I did, and I saved. I saved money, energy, and my business. So don't forget the letters. Visit craf.org today to learn more about the Credit Risk Abatement Facility.
All right, so we're hearing about technical support, we're hearing about a partial guarantee, so I do hope that is generating some excitement amongst you today. So we do have a little change in the program. It gives me pleasure to now invite Mr. Ronald Theodore, the CEO of the Grenada Investment Development Corporation, to deliver remarks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Murray. Please permit me to stand on protocols already established. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me try it again. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you. The overall strategic goal of the Grenada Investment Development Corporation is to promote local and foreign investment, facilitate and strengthen entrepreneurial development within the growth sectors of Grenada's economy. The growth sectors are tourism and hospitality services, education and training, health and wellness, information and communication technology, the creative sector, agribusiness, manufacturing, energy transition, and the environment. We believe that entrepreneurship is an engine of growth. Entrepreneurship plays a critical role in the development of strong economies. We strongly believe that our future prosperity hinges greatly on the ability of entrepreneurs and innovators to generate sustainable enterprises. And as such, we need to continue to cultivate and nurture entrepreneurial development. We are cognizant of the challenges faced by small and medium-sized enterprises, small domestic market, skilled and human resource challenges, limited access to finance, marketing challenges, high operating cost, rising costs of raw materials and supplies, high transportation costs, and yes, high cost of electricity. Our SMEs are faced with rates of EC 1.25 to $1.40 per kilowatt hour. Yes, these are high costs. Notwithstanding these challenges, we do believe that renewable energy and energy efficiency presents valuable opportunities for our small and medium-sized enterprises to reduce operating costs, improve sustainability, and strengthen long-term competitiveness. Some potential investment opportunities include the installation of rooftop solar panel systems to generate electricity and lower electricity bills, the installation of small-scale wind turbines to supply power, converting organic waste into heat, electricity, or biogas. It must be noted that improving energy efficiency helps SMEs reduce operating costs while maintaining productivity. Some measures include replacing traditional lighting with LED lighting, installing energy-efficient heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, upgrading to energy-efficient machinery and equipment, improving installation and building designs to reduce heat and cooling costs. While the current investment incentive regime makes provision to support SMEs who may be interested in investing in said opportunities and energy-efficient initiatives, the question that may be posed is, how can I get access to finance and support these ventures? GIDC is pleased to be part of this event here today, as the Credit Risk Abatement Facility is one possible solution. The CRAF is a credit enhancement facility that seeks to de-risk lending to SMEs by providing various risk mitigation products, one of which is the ability to benefit from up to 80% partial risk guarantee. We implore you to take advantage of this facility, and we stand prepared to assist you with your investment endeavors through the range of business and investment support services we provide. Ladies and gentlemen, it's imperative that we continue to give value to fostering the development of our SMEs, for we no doubt stand to benefit in the future. Let's remember that we owe our future to the strength of our everlasting values. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Theodore. Just coincidentally, the Grenada Development Bank is actually celebrating 61 years of service to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique this month. So just to let you know, just to get that out of the way. And at the Grenada Development Bank, we are always seeking sources of concessional funding that we can encourage Grenadians to invest in their own climate resilience for their homes and their businesses. So it gives me pleasure to now invite our General Manager at the Grenada Development Bank, Mr. Royston Cumberbatch, to deliver remarks.
Thank you, Ria. All right, so a pleasant good morning to everyone. And I would like to go under the protocol established, but at the same time, I would like to give thanks to the Minister of Climate Resilience, Environment and Renewable Energy for being here today, as well as, of course, the business community. We, of course, have CEOs of statutory bodies like my ex-boss, Mr. Ronald Theodore, and of course, CRAF as well is here with us today. We have Wayne and his team, along with the CEO of course, CDF, and Mr. Rodonel Suma. So today gives me great honor and pleasure to stand here because with the CDF, we were very, very happy to partner with them on this initiative, the Credit Risk Abatement Facility. I want to say that the GDB has been on the journey of giving renewable energy financing for some time. But when this facility came on board, of course, it meant that we can now have what is called a credit risk kind of reduction facility. So what that means is that, of course, we give the loans to you, but of course, we have a partial guarantee scheme. More importantly, with this particular facility, you also get technical support. One of the key things as well with projects of this nature is that it has to be bankable, right? So if it's not bankable, then of course we can't give a loan. So with this facility as well, the CDF is also providing some technical support to be able to turn your ideas, your concepts, as I will call them sometimes, into what we call bankable projects, right? And of course, I came in this morning and some persons were asking me, what am I getting? What are they giving me, you know? What are they giving me financing? Well, the GDB will give the financing, just to be clear, and the CDF will give the guarantee and the technical support. So I hope the model is very clear, right? Sometimes persons ask, the first thing when people hear about loans, they ask, what is the interest rates? Right? It's a very common thing, right? Well, these rates are I think, very competitive. Our rates for climate and renewable energy are between 4.99% and 6%. So 6% is going to be around the maximum for these loans. We also have, we are able to what we call do co-financing in some instances on some of these products, whereby we can do what is called some blended finance. So basically, our interest rates is always governed by our source of funding, right? But and if one source of funding is higher and one source of funding is lower, we can blend the two, and in that case, we can give you a lower interest rate. So we have some funds still from the 5 C's. It was a grant program that they've given, so they've given us a grant, and what we do is that we blend that with our loan product to reduce the rate to around 5%. Many MSMEs and individuals have already benefited from solar PV and many other products. Now, I also want to speak to one program that the GDB has done recently, which is similar to this. You may have heard of it, the EDA, Enhanced Direct Access, where we actually help homeowners and business owners to become more what is called climate resilient, right? And when we say climate resilient, we all know that we have a risk of the strength of hurricanes are increasing. So of course, if a Cat 4 or Cat 5 hit, we want to be able to withstand that. So what this particular program helped with the EDA was to make sure that persons have, good windows, good doors, good roofs on their homes, as well as, of course, things like back walls, because when a hurricane comes, for example, it comes with a lot of water, so it's important to have good drainage and all these good things, right? So when we talk about climate resilience, we talk about climate finance, it's not only solar PV. I just want to be very clear, right? Resilience means being able to withstand adverse climate. And adverse climate is not only coming from the sun, it can also be excess water, right? All right, so I want to say that climate risk is actually a financial risk. Climate risk is a financial risk because, as we know, with the rising cost of things like electricity, right, that means that it impacts your what? Your profitability. So if you don't control your electricity bill, if you don't control the cost of energy, it's actually going to impact your profitability. So it's very important that you put some mitigation, you reduce your energy bill. And that is what this facility is all about, right? And issues like environmental issues are also business issues because the business actually exist and coexist in the environment. So it's not separate. When we talk about environmental issues, it's not like, well, it's nothing to do with me. It has to do something to do with all of us. So I think it's very important that we understand that that such products like the CRAF is there to help us to build more resilient businesses. So I do hope that that many of the businesses who are here today will in fact take advantage of the CRAF team and be able to benefit from some of the products that the GDB has as well. So every dollar saved on electricity hits your bottom line, right? So any dollar saved, as I said, hits your bottom line. So it's very important that you manage your electricity cost. Now, in terms of, I want to just recap on getting financing. It's very, very important that, as I said, I also want to repeat that you have a bankable project. And that is where, as I said, the technical support comes in, right? So I'm encouraging you that while the CRAF team is here, that you come with them, you say to them what your project is, and hopefully that they can help you to shape this up and so that you can present it to us as a bankable project. Also, CRAF has also been spending some time with us at the GDB so that the credit officers know exactly how to assess and these projects so that we can get a fast turnaround in getting these up to the approval levels, right? So I want to wish all of you a very good forum. I hope you enjoy what's in store for you, and I look forward to having some of your projects coming forward for approval in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cumberbatch. And it is indeed a pleasure to have the Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Honorable Karine James, with us. And I invite her now to deliver the keynote address. Honorable Minister.
Thank you so very much, Mistress of Ceremony, Mr. Rodinal Suma, Chief Executive Officer of the Curriculum Development Fund, Mr. Royston Cumberbatch, General Manager of the Grenada Development Bank, Mr. Rodinal Theodore, Chief Executive Officer of the Grenada Investment Development Corporation, representative from the PURC, forgive me, Rhyme, for not remembering your portfolio there, Mr. Andre Escalante, Managing Director of Energy Dynamics, Chief Experience Officer of the Grenada Cooperative Bank, Mr. Wolvon Granger, Mr. Baldwin Taylor, Country Manager of ACB Caribbean, Miss Arlene Friday of the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Association, staff of the CARICOM Development Fund and the Grenada Development Bank, specially invited guests, registrants, and members of the media, as well as our small and medium-sized business owners. A pleasant morning. I would first start off my keynote address by stating that every business in Grenada or across the world has an energy story. It is written in the monthly electricity bill, in the cost of refrigeration, cooling, and production, in the price charged to the customer, and sometimes in the difficult choices between expanding the business and simply meeting the next operating expense. Energy is therefore not a background issue. It is a competitiveness issue, a productivity issue, and a resilience issue, and increasingly a national development issue. That is why I believe today's theme, transforming SMEs by unlocking financing and accelerating sustainable energy projects, is both timely and strategic. I want to commend Mr. Suma and the CARICOM Development Fund for convening the institutions that must work together if our energy ambitions are to become investable realities. And these institutions are the businesses, the financial institutions, energy service providers, development partners, and the biggest piece of the puzzle, policymakers. The CDF has correctly recognized, in my humblest view, that sustainable energy is inseparable from business development and enterprise competitiveness. CRAF, established with the support from GIC and the CARICOM Energy Unit, is designed to turn policy ambition into practical opportunity. Our region, of course, for some of you who know and for those who are new to the conversation, our region contributes only a small share of global emissions, yet faces disproportionate climate impacts. We also remain exposed to imported fuels, volatile prices, and the foreign exchange burden of energy dependence. The Caribbean conversation must therefore move beyond vulnerability. Our future cannot be defined only by the risks we face. It must also be defined by the technologies we deployed, the capital we mobilize, the enterprises we strengthen, and the regional solutions we build. Renewable energy and energy efficiency are central to those choices. For businesses, they can, of course, reduce operating expenditure, improve productivity, strengthen energy security, preserve foreign exchange, create green jobs, and improve competitiveness. The question is no longer simply whether sustainable energy is good for the environment. I believe the question is whether Caribbean businesses can afford to continue absorbing avoidable energy costs in an increasingly competitive world. Small and medium-sized enterprises must therefore remain at the center of the transition. And we must speak deliberately about micro enterprises. In our economies, a micro enterprise may be small on paper, but indispensable to the community it serves. It supports livelihoods, circulates income locally, and often innovates with limited resources. Sustainable energy must not become an opportunity reserved for large firms or businesses with extensive collateral. The smallest viable enterprises must also participate. Yet, we must be candid about the obstacles they face. Projects often stall in the space between the technical possibility and the financial confidence. Upfront costs can be extremely high. Affordable finance may be difficult to access. Collateral requirements can exclude promising businesses. Some enterprises lack the capacity to prepare credible proposals, while some lenders have limited experience assessing newer technologies and risks. The result is a frustrating contradiction. Capital exists, viable energy opportunities exist, yet too few projects reach financial close. CRAF is a practical regional response to that structural gap. Its strength lies in three mutually reinforcing pillars. The first is the credit risk instrument and its guarantee mechanism, designed to encourage additional lending and help address barriers associated with risk and collateral. The second is the technical assistance program, which builds capacity and helps move projects from concept towards market readiness. The third is the monitoring and evaluation framework, which measures performance, strengthens accountability, and supports continuous improvement. These pillars belong together. Finance without credible technical preparation can produce weak investments. Technical assistance without capital, we are accustomed to that in our country, can produce reports that never leaves the shelf. Monitoring without implementation measures, activity must, but not transformation. CRAF's promise lies in combining finance, capacity, and evidence. That brings us to the purpose of today's Project Identification Forum. This forum is a bridge between ideas and investment. It is intended to transfer knowledge, provide technical resources, and help businesses prepare bankable proposals. The opportunity for initial assessments and, where appropriate, follow-up visits should be used fully. So to every business owner present, and I see a lot, do not leave with your idea in the same form in which you entered this conversation today. Test it. Even if you're unsure, question it, strengthen it, identify the missing information, understand the financial case, determine what is required to move the project from interest to readiness and from readiness to investment. A project is not bankable simply because it is green. It becomes bankable when the technology is appropriate, when the design is sound, when the costs are credible, the savings are realistic, the risks are understood, and the capacity to implement is extremely clear. For Grenada, this work aligns closely with our national direction. Our nationally determined contribution, which was recently revised, NDC 3.0, sets a target by reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 relative to 2010 levels, conditional upon access to international support. We are also advancing geothermal energy development, expanding our solar PV deployment across Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique, pursuing energy efficiency initiatives, and we've recently launched an energy efficiency communication campaign, first being rolled out with the public sector and then for the general public, and more energy efficient public infrastructure, and investing in grid modernization, energy storage, and stronger transmission and distribution infrastructure. Through the Renewable Energy Integration Investment Framework, we are working to create an electricity system capable of integrating greater levels of renewable energy while improving reliability and resilience. And I know some of you might be sitting down here and you might be wondering to yourself, well, are they saying all these things? But in reality, you all made the investment and you're not getting the returns from Grenlec for the investment. We are looking into that, and the PRC has been tasked with that independent power producer regulation to set the tariff so that most of you who have made the investment, and I only raise it because I see a couple of you in the audience, wouldn't be aware that our policymakers are reaching out a hand to help support you. So together, ladies and gentlemen, these efforts form one wider transformation: cleaner generation, a stronger grid, greater storage, more efficient energy use, and wider participation by households and businesses. Government has a central responsibility. The utility has a central responsibility, but neither can deliver the transition alone. Policy can establish direction, regulation can create confidence, and public investment can strengthen infrastructure. Yet, private enterprise, domestic finance, regional partnerships, and sustained investment are indispensable. The transition must also be inclusive. It must reach women entrepreneurs, young innovators, rural enterprises, the farmers, fishers, agro-processors, tourism operators, and manufacturers. A green transition, ladies and gentlemen, that changes the source of electricity but leaves opportunity concentrated in too few hands will fall short of its development promise. To our financial institutions, I offer a respectful challenge. Become active partners in the energy transition, not merely custodians of capitals, but enablers of innovation, enablers of enterprise resilience and sustainable growth. This is not a call for weaker standards, but it is a call for better informed lending, supported by sound technical analysis, appropriate risk sharing, and understanding how energy investments can improve cash flow and competitiveness. To our businesses, stop seeing renewable energy and energy efficiency as optional environmental expenditure. Treat them as strategic investments. Ask what energy waste is costing you and whether a song project can strengthen your competitiveness. To our energy service providers and technical professionals, bankability begins before the loan application. With rigorous assessments, realistic projections, transparent pricing, sound engineering, and responsible after-sales support. Every successful project strengthens confidence in the market. To our development partners, continue to support project preparation, institutional capacity, and mechanisms that help viable projects move towards scale. And to policymakers, including myself, our duty is to provide clear credible and predictable enabling environments through sound regulation, appropriate standards, and efficient processes. My hope is that this forum will be remembered for more than the quality of its presentations. Let it be remembered for the projects it identified, the proposals it strengthened, the partnerships it created, and the investments it helped bring to life. Let us envision a Caribbean where sustainable energy lowers the cost of doing business, strengthens competitiveness, creates green jobs, and builds resilience into the way we produce, we invest, and prosper. The government of Grenada remains firmly committed to renewable energy, energy efficiency, and climate resilience as key pillars of development. We welcome CRAF as what I believe to be a practical regional instrument for helping businesses overcome barriers and enabling financial institutions to participate more confidently in the transition. I commend the Caribbean Development Fund for its leadership. I thank all the partners whose work has brought this initiative to Grenada. May today produce serious ideas, stronger projects, trusted partnerships, and measurable results. And may we live with this shared conviction. The Caribbean's energy future will not be built by ambition alone. I'll repeat that. The Caribbean energy future will not be built by ambition alone. It will be built when good ideas become credible projects, when credible projects attract responsible investment, and when those investments create stronger businesses, better livelihoods, and more resilient economies and shared prosperity. So, with these few words, I hope I did justice to the keynote address. And I hope that at the end of the forum, we would see some of our small businesses, especially so, Mr. Suma, in the rural part of the island, although the West is not rural. But some businesses there see the realities of their projects moving from just an idea to a strong sound proposal. So thank you, and I wish you an enjoyable forum.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that well-done keynote address. So it's now time for our stakeholders here to enter the chat and join the conversation. So we have a live question for you. So I invite you to pull out your mobile phones. If you need to connect to the Wi-Fi, it's Radisson Guest, and the password is relaxation. So, and the question is on the screen. So the question is, what is your biggest challenge in implementing renewable energy and energy efficiency projects? So you just open to your camera app, you scan, and then you include your response, and we'll see it in real time, how the responses are coming in. So let's see what you have to say. The question is, what is your biggest challenge in implementing renewable energy and energy efficiency projects? All right, so the responses are coming in. We have 12 responses, 13. Well, your biggest challenge. All right, the responses are coming in fast and furious. So We have about 30 responses, as you can see, and the biggest challenge for everyone is lack of financing. That's 68%. And following that, high upfront costs. So we see and we hear from you what is your biggest challenge in implementing renewable energy and energy efficiency projects. So thank you for that. And just to note, we have 2 more live questions for you to get in on the conversation. And we're up to 40 responses. So you're very responsive here today. Thank you for that. And now we come to our first presentation, and it will be delivered by the regulatory engineer at the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Mr. Rahim Elliott. I invite Mr. Elliott to the podium.
So pleasant good morning, everyone. Standing on the protocol established earlier. Introducing myself, I am Rahim Elliott. I'm the regulatory engineer at the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. This morning I'll be giving a short presentation really and truly about the framework that the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has in place right now to support small and medium enterprises in advancing renewable energy footprint, and basically what will be tangential to the CRAF in terms of the financing and those types of facilities that the PERT offers. So Grenada's renewable energy transition, from the PORC side, just to give a little background, we are the energy sector regulator along with the regulator for the water and sewage sectors as well. We are also the procuring entity for renewable energy within Grenada's remit. Our vision is to build a strong, sustainable regulatory framework that helps to support economic advancements. The drivers of this is we looking at lowering costs. I know that's a continuous rhetoric. Minister James mentioned that earlier. Looking at situations of increasing energy sovereignty, and importantly from a national level is achieving the national determined contributions and the sustainable development goals. So within I'll say the framework and the energy transition, the PORC's role, we go from the mission to ensure reliable utility services at fair and reasonable prices. And within our remit, we do licensing. As I mentioned before, we're the procuring entity, but we do licensing and permitting of energy sector participants, and ensuring fair and transparent market access. This is done through our competitive procurement regulation, develop technical regulatory standards, that being grid codes, service standards, plethora of different instruments that really helps to upscale the energy sector, and support the integration of renewable energy resources, supporting integrated resource and resilience planning, looking at the socio-economic environment of Grenada and how can we best onboard more renewables given the technical constraints that we face from the grid and different market conditions. So as I said, there are some, as highlighted earlier today, there are some risks associated with renewable energy, and I'll give a little background or a little overview of how the Commission goes about mitigating those risks. So on clear approval requirements, the Commission is in the process of putting out or promulgating rather the rules and procedures for applying for a permit and a license. This would distill the framework for any enterprise looking to enter the renewable energy sector, on how what is expected from them or what you can anticipate to prepare to enter into the market. There's technical uncertainty. This comes from the absence of grid codes, the absence of technical standards, what is recommended, what is required for you from an interconnection perspective, and grid codes have been built up for that. Those are next to be promulgated, so we have the management code, the generation code, transmission and distribution, supply code, and the battery energy storage code. So this gives the obligations of all the different players in the market. We call them system users, whether you are a generator or you're a customer. Most of us here are customers, so understanding what your obligations on whichever hat that you sit on at that time. On certain market access. And as I mentioned before, the electricity generation expansion plan and competitive procurement regulations, this gives how us as a procuring entity, this is the legislation that or the guide that we follow in expanding the renewable energy footprint in Grenada. And then on clear investment structure. As you being a small and medium enterprise, and as mentioned today, the finances related to these types of environments, there needs to be a proper mechanism or support for how, or what is the expectation for remuneration of your facilities, or whether it's self-generator side, whether it's a small independent power producer, how is that calculated? And that's relied upon using the tariff setting methodology. This was implemented back in 2023 and sets the standard for how rates are devised within the sector. So there are two main pathways I'll reference this morning. As I said, I'll be short. This is the first one is the self-generator program. This is designed for consumers. So as mentioned before, people looking to lower their overhead costs, behind the meter consumption, where you generate energy, you consume first. If there's excess, that is outputted onto the grid. And then there's a small scale independent power producer program, which is more target to persons desirous, local, as I said, local entities looking to just supply energy to the grid. So the key features of the self-generator program for residential users install up to 120% of their nominal daily consumption. On the commercial side, which speaks to the small and medium enterprises, looks at 60% of that of your historic demand. As mentioned, the excess energy produced by facilities injected to the grid, and this is compensated under this is done under a net metering agreement that is done with Grenada. Have a little technical thing. So thank you. So the pathway to becoming a self-generator, the application is submitted to the PRC. The PRC does a technical review of the system sizing, making sure the system fits within the criteria, the regulations, the sizing that I just mentioned on the previous slide. The PRC then makes a recommendation to the minister responsible for energy for the issuance of a permit. As I said, from the issuance of the permit, there's a system installation, and then the interconnection agreement and the commission of the system with Grenada is signed as the final step. All right. On the small-scale independent power producer program, this targets more local investment, private developers. As I say, this is solely generation of energy on grid. These systems are sized between 30 kilowatts and 200 kilowatts. This is done in tranches. The reason this is done in tranches is because of the technical capacities that we're limited to. The grid was not built in its initial stages for bidirectional flow of energy. So to ensure that there's no adverse effects in terms of onboarding too much renewable energy, and the grid is on and renders the grid unstable, this is done in tranches. So we completed a tranche back in 2024. There are some licenses being disseminated. Hopefully we see some more traction with these generated facilities that we could go to market again. License is granted under under the small scale independent power producer program compared to a self-generator program. And this uses a commercial contract of a power purchase agreement. And a lot of thought was said earlier in terms of bankability. Obviously, a power purchase agreement guarantees bankability from a lender perspective, that you will be able to service your loan, service your debt, and still make money on top of your investment. Right. So, as I said, the process for this is the process flow. The commission issues a request for proposals in tranches. The technical and financial evaluation is done. So within the request for proposals, you get, you see the criteria, what you furnish in your technical proposal, what you furnish in your financial proposal. System impact studies then conducted by Grenada. You get your planning and development authority permissions. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission then recommends for a license to be issued by the minister with responsibility for energy. You do the installation of your facility, you sign the PPA with Grenada, and then you do the interconnection and the commissioning of the facility. So as I said, this small scale independent power producer program more targets persons looking to just export onto the grid, and as opposed to these self-generator, which reduces energy consumption from the utility. So just a quick mention, and I particularly put this here because CDF has been a stakeholder in terms of this project. This is the flagship project. Minister James made a slight mention of this earlier. This will be Grenada's first, main island utility scale solar PV facility, 15 megawatt facility done under independent power producer modality. This was done under a competitive procurement regime, where bids were solicited on an international level, national, regional, and international level. And coming from that, the selected bidder was, a preferred bidder was selected rather based on technical qualification and in line with the lowest cost. As mentioned, the intent in expanding renewable energy footprint is also to offset energy costs to the customer. So that was this is the flagship program from the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. And yeah, that's it. As I said, I will be short. The key takeaways from this one is what the commission has done or is doing really to create that enabling framework for energy transmission, what the pathways for small and medium scale enterprises are for in the renewable energy sector, and hopefully there's a better understanding of what was the private sector participation within the renewable energy regime in Grenada sector. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott, for that comprehensive presentation. Yeah. And it's now time again for you to enter the chat. So we have our live question 2 for you. So again, pull out those mobile phones. Question 2. So I'm just going to read the question still. Do you actively track your energy costs as part of your business operations? So that question again, do you actively track your energy costs as part of your business operations? So we'll just wait for the question and QR code to be displayed on the screen. I do hope we are tracking all costs associated with business operations though, but the question today is, do you actively track your energy costs as part of your business operations? All right, there we go. So I think we can move on to the next presentation and come back. Well, there we go. Right, so again, pull out your mobile phones, scan the QR code, and I'll be looking forward to see your responses. Do you actively track your energy costs as part of your business operations? Be honest, but don't let me down. Oh, the QR code is being blocked. There's a bar to the left. Oh, there we go. So the responses are coming in. And again, the question, do you actively track your energy costs as part of your business operations? So we have, let's wait till we get to 30. We have 29. Okay, so we've gotten to 31 and counting. So the most popular response is yes, regularly. For those that said yes, regularly, give yourselves a round of applause. Pat yourself on the back, yes. And that response garnered 50%. And then we have persons saying 31% of respondents saying occasionally. All right, so for those of you who said occasionally, we have some work to do. And then 17% said no. So for those that said no, see me afterward. We have work to do. All right. So thank you for those responses to the question, do you actively track your energy costs as part of your business operations? It's something that is very important. As I said before, you have to track all your expenses, but your energy costs are a major one. So moving along, we now invite the CEO of Energy Dynamics Limited, Mr. Andre Escalante, to deliver a presentation.
Honorable Karen James, Minister of Climate Resilience, Environment and Renewable Energy. All the protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm going to talk about CRAF and energy efficiency. And I think the word I used at the end, you'll see it. CRAF is a missing link. I've been involved in energy efficiency and renewable energy for a long time, maybe since 1998. When I did work with the Caribbean Hotel Association, the environmental arm called CAST, and I started doing training for hotels in energy efficiency. The first seminar we did was in Aruba in 1998. And after that, CAST had me in every single island doing energy efficiency training. So I've been in it for a long time. I've seen all the changes. I know the history, what is good, what didn't come out. And I think coming out of all this, I can clearly be the one to say that CRAF is the missing link. So let me go ahead with this. So I'll talk a short overview of EDL, Energy Dynamics Limited. That's my company. The history of energy efficiency and renewable energy in the Caribbean. A brief example, right? And the future, the new technologies, and I'll talk about CRAF. Okay? So we have started in 2000. We worked throughout the entire Caribbean, OECS, Aruba. Our first project was in Aruba, actually. Okay? And up to the Bahamas and so forth. And we continue to work throughout the Caribbean. We do energy consulting, so energy audits. We did CHENAC audits all through the Caribbean. We did audits for manufacturing facilities. So I've been in it for the long haul. This is my career. This is what I do. I live energy efficiency and renewable energy. Okay, and I managed to survive. I've seen many people come in and then leave, because it's very hard. I remember a guy from GIZ. He was working in Guyana and then he moved to Barbados, and he said, Andre, the Caribbean started off with renewable energy before everybody else. I'm frustrated. Africa now has taken over the Caribbean. That was about 8 or 10 years ago. And then he left, he moved on. So I've seen the good and the bad and so forth. We also do projects, because I started off selling light bulbs. I used to sell those, those spiral bulbs, those compact fluorescent bulbs. I started selling them, and I would do the energy training for the hotels. And I'll tell them, buy the bulbs. And they didn't know where to buy them. So I said, okay, there's an opportunity. I start selling bulbs. And then everybody sells bulbs now, everybody uses LED lamps. So I go from different technologies all the way through, because there's not enough service providers. I saw people ask that question, So I started providing the service, and then it grew from them. Then now everybody understands what to do and what not to do. Okay, some of the projects we did, I'm an engineer. I love big, nice projects, doing different technology. So we did absorption cooling, which you don't know about it. Your grandfather or your great-grandfather had a kerosene fridge, that technology for cooling. So we did a lot of absorption cooling, but it runs on heat. So either direct fire from natural gas, which we do in Trinidad, or it runs on waste heat from boilers or solar. So some of the projects we did, and it got me throughout the Caribbean. So one of the projects I did, one on the left, is for SAPEM, a utility in Dominican Republic. And they use waste heat from the generators to make hot water, and they pipe it 5 kilometers to all the big hotels in Punta Cana. And we work with them on the air conditioning with that project. That was in 2012 or so forth, right? We did work, but the reason I mentioned this project is because it's a district cooling project. District cooling, you have central source and you cool different buildings. But here in Guyana, Grenada, you all have a district cooling project coming up with seawater air conditioning, that they want to cool water from the sea, cold water from the sea to cool the airport, to cool St. George University, to cool, I think, Sandals and Royston hotels. I also did and then somebody mentioned technologies. Do technologies work? Banks want to know, do technologies work? So one of the projects we did, the one on the right, is Digicel. Digicel had a Kingston, that's the headquarters in Kingston. They wanted solar air conditioning, but they used the absorption chiller, but it runs off the hot water from solar panels. Okay, but that wasn't feasible. And we knew it wasn't. They knew that too, and we knew that too. But they did it because the chairman at that time of Digicel wanted to have technology, and he had some wind turbines on top of the building, but it didn't work. And it could only cool the building for 3 hours a day. Okay, so we learn what works and what don't work. That's very important. And in the middle, what we're doing now is, this is your St. George University. Okay, so we took over the maintenance of that a year and a half ago, right? And we did a few things for them, and they wanted more reliability on the AC systems, right? But they're getting reliability and they're getting energy efficiency. So we changed, just to let you know, they changed a chiller from one building that was 15 years old technology, from scroll compressors to a screw compressor, and they got so much savings, it paid back for itself in 1 year. Okay? And we knew about it because we did the calculation before. But there's another building that we just checked last week, because we've seen big decreases and we maintain it properly. Proper maintenance of the equipment. That's important for energy efficiency. Proper maintenance. And I don't want to say the number, but the amount of money they save is a big building, one of the 6-story buildings. They save so much money from proper maintenance. They used to have 2 chillers running the building. We switched off one January this year because the equipment is working properly now with proper maintenance, and they're saving a ton of money. And they're so happy about it. Okay? So maintenance is important. All right, this is an example of technical assistance program that CRAF provide to you guys. Anybody who wants to get technical assistance, whether it be a bank or SME, you can come to CRAF. We just did a project with them in Belize, electric hydrofoil ferry. They want to take passengers for those who have been to Belize City to San Pedro, okay? And normally you use diesel boats, okay? So this entrepreneur wanted to use the electric hydrofoil ferry. It actually floats like a hydrofoil above the water like this. It goes above the water. And it runs on electricity, batteries, which they charge using solar or off the grid. Mainly solar, but on the grid as well. And it's carbon savings, a lot of savings there. They the energy savings is a lot. The cost is dropped. The speed is very fast because it glides. So it cuts it half about an hour on a normal ferry trip. But they wanted, the bank, Billy's bank wanted technical assistance, and CRAF stepped in and contracted us to do the analysis. And we put a team of people together, renewable energy engineers, naval architects, and there are good questions came up from the analysis. Can this ferry, it looks nice. I would love to do this in Trinidad if I had between the islands and stuff, but it can only work if the waves is less than 2 meters, okay? And between San Pedro and Belize City, there's the barrier reef, so the waves don't get that high, you know? But it's very, very fast boat. The other thing is sargassum. Would the sargassum affect the hydrofoils? Things like that. So the technical assistance is important for the bank to understand, is it feasible or not? And it passed the technical feasibility part. The batteries, when we first looked at it, hey, when you go to San Pedro and come back, you only have 10% of your batteries left. That's not good. But then they adjusted it, and it now will come back with 20% of the battery. No captain want to come back to port with only 10% of your life, all right? So forth. And then we do the financial part for them, the model, right? How much was it financial feasibility? We developed a business model, and it was feasible. So I think the next stage is for CRAF to provide the credit guarantees and so forth. So it's a case of the technical assistance working for people in the Caribbean. Okay, a quick history of energy efficiency. So because I've done energy audits in every single island in the Caribbean for years, this was the old chart, right? So we have like, I circled Grenada there in yellow. You're about 40 cents, but Cayman Islands is 45 cents, and Trinidad is below 6 cents. But what everybody does now is it's a no-brainer. Is LED lights, whether it be on 12 hours a day outside or inside the house, is a quick payback in Grenada. That's a no-brainer, right? Even the inverter AC systems, that's a no-brainer as well. You should use the inverter. One thing I want to remind you, okay, not all inverter units are the same. And that's where technical knowledge comes in. There are people who make inverter units that are about 15, 20% not as efficient as the normal, a better standard. So the specs are important. And that's why you have to read the specs and understand it properly, okay? And the payback, those are payback. So I have the energy cost on the left column, and I have the payback, the simple payback. So inverter, my payback for itself in Grenada at 1.33 years, quick payback, right? Then I have solar water heaters, 0.92, and solar PV, 4.5 years. Payback for solar PV. That is new. When I did this slide before, when I had it years ago, the payback for solar was 6 years in Grenada. But now the cost has come down. So it's more like under 5 years now. So you can consider things like solar payback and stuff. And then I have the different islands. So you see the higher the energy cost, the faster payback. So Grenada, you are so high that everything works, basically. Okay? Yeah, anything to save energy can work. So that was the history. Okay, now there are new technologies now. A number of new technology. But again, maybe because we are worried about the ability to maintain the technology, maybe we don't know about what exists there. But so we heard of the VRF systems, the VRF air conditioning system. I noticed some here when I came inside. It's like a variable frequency on the compressors, right? So there's VRF systems here. But now there are solar VRF systems that use solar with the air conditioning, okay, which is good. There are heat recovery VRF systems. So there are a number of air conditioning systems here I put on the air conditioning side, new technologies that we have not been seen used in the Caribbean as yet. Okay, on hot water, domestic hot water, there are heat pumps. We shouldn't be selling electric water heaters here. Solar water heaters is fine, but heat pumps are even better. If you want to put electric water heater, heat pumps are even better, right? About 4 times better than an electric water heater. Now, we don't sell, it's strange, because energy cost is so high in the Caribbean, I seldom see heat pumps for hot water in the Caribbean. Seldom, okay? I first got introduced to heat pumps in 2003 or 4 in China. They started off, I think it's a European design, but they started off in China a lot. But they haven't seen them in the Caribbean that much, right? And at least three times more efficient than an electric water heater. Over a gas water heater is about maybe it's more efficient than a gas water heater based on the cost of gas, like propane or whatever else. So heat pumps not here. Again, we don't have people introducing us to new technologies, right? I told the CHA the other day, Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, listen, we haven't had seminars since the 2000s. It took me 5 years to get through all the islands to do 1998 to 2003, do every island energy efficiency training. But no technologies, and nobody knows about new technologies out there. You know, things like controls and radiant barrier for the roof and so forth, which is around a long time, but I don't see many roofs have it. 2 years ago, I went to Jamaica. Nobody's using radiant barrier on installations on roof, and that's not good. That's standard in Trinidad right now. Okay, this is a solar water heater, solar air conditioning unit. The solar panel goes on, provides DC power to the condensing unit and cools the building. It can also supply to the grid if you have excess panel, or if you need more power, it takes from the grid. So it combines solar and the grid at the same time. Okay, so that's solar air conditioning that has a very good payback. This is a heat recovery VRF. VRF is more efficient. VRF is about 15% more efficient than inverter units. So if you're a hotel and you have 15 inverter split units, yeah, you're saving. But if you switch to an inverter system, right, you get 15% more savings around. Plus, you can have the heat recovery for hot water that comes from the air conditioning unit. Okay, you can have that supplement your solar. You can have that supplement your heat pump, and or so forth, right? But so you can get hot water from your VRF systems, and it's available a long time now, okay? So I put some of these new technologies in to show the payback, right? And so for Grenada, the yellow, the solar VRF will have a 2.4-year payback, and that's good for the bank. Anything less than a 3-year payback, the banks can finance, okay? If you combine for a hotel, let's say, solar hot water, heat recovery, and solar VRF, 2.1-year payback. The heat pumps might be 1.23-year payback over electric, okay? A little more with gas. You can get SGUs during a chill water system with heat recovery for hot water, 1.4-year payback, and so forth. So you see the payback, good. The higher the energy cost, the faster the payback. So these new technologies work as well, right? So we can do even more. We just came back. One of my guys came back from I'm coming to CRAF right now, but I'll let you know what's going on. We came up from Bahamas. We got a job to do 40 energy audits in Bahamas. Free energy audits because it's funded by an organization. Do you know, for the last 2 months, we only got 24 of the 40. We're tackling hotels, fisheries. There's something called, what's the word? I forgot the word. Sorry. Anyway, the participants are skeptical of things coming from the government. So they get stakeholder fatigue. We're trying to get 40 people to do free energy audits. And we only got 23 or 24 so far. You know, and that's one of the reasons we found out why, because the things would happen, like a hurricane would come, and they would promise to give them something or do something, and nothing happens. Or the government changes too fast, and so that happens. So I hope people in Grenada, if they do come around, because there are audits coming around to Grenada and projects coming. Grenada is part of St. Lucia and Guyana with a big project coming along. I hope people take use of it because a lot could be done. Let's talk about CRAF. So this is the overview of the CRAF. For those who can see here, CRAF will provide credit guarantees to the financial institutions. The financial institutions will provide loans either to the small and medium enterprise or provide the money to the energy service provider who will do the project. Okay? So what was been missing is the credit guarantee. I've been in this energy business since 1998, and to get the banks to jump on board, they're afraid. I remember once, I've been so long in this business, in Caribbean Development Bank, but had people from the development banks in Barbados for about a whole week. I was part of it, showing the development banks to do solar, how it's good, because people will lend you money for a car or a house, but they're afraid to lend you for solar. They had questions like, can I take the panels off the roof? Did they stop paying? Stuff like that, you know? So, but then now I see solar is now being well utilized, but that's because CDB had all the development banks in Barbados maybe 10 years ago, training them about it, get familiar with the technology, awareness, okay? Right, so CRAF also supports the ESCO model, the energy service provider model, where on the left-hand side, that's your energy cost before. The middle one has the savings, right? Now, so you have your energy cost before. The energy service provider will come in, do an energy study, and tell you, okay, we can save you so much energy, right? Which some will go back to us to pay off the bank, right? And some you can get right away. And after the contract, you say all the savings belong to you. So I don't know if you can understand, I don't have a pointer, but I don't know if you understand it. So let's say for solar VRF systems, the project cost is on the top left-hand side, 180,000 US. CRAF will come in and said, okay, the bank, we will guarantee 80%, okay, which is $144,000. So you get the bank feel happy now. They get 80% covered by CRAF of the project. They get 144 credit guarantee, which has been missing for a long time. The ESCO might put in 36,000 equity to make up the difference, or he might ask the enterprise to put in maybe 10% or so. The annual savings is 75,000 US dollars. 2.4-year payback. That's what the VRF, solar VRF will last 10 years at least. So then let's look at the savings, year 0, I did a small cash flow so you could just get an idea how this thing works. Year 1, 0, you have to spend the 180,000. So the bank puts in 144, the ESCO puts in 36, and sometimes if you have a good ESCO, he tells the customer, you put in 0. Sometimes you may ask for 10% or 50, put some skin in the game. But let's say in this case it's 0. So you have a project, 188,000, save you 75,000, you put in 0. Year 1, you pay back the bank, $42,000. The escrow gets 11,000. And because there's a difference between the savings and what you pay off, the customer gets $21,000 in his hand. Positive cash flow from 0. That's a no-brainer. Okay? That interest, sorry, Mr. Grenada Development Bank, that interest is more than, that's like 8%. So it's probably even more for the customer. All right? By year 2, the same thing. Year 3, year 4, and then year 5, all the savings comes to the customer. Okay? This is the energy efficiency model that you can do. Savings can pay for the investment. And that's what we try. And that's CRAF providing that credit guarantee makes it more safer for the bank, reduce the risk, so the bank will want to implement the project. This is a no-brainer, I think. Okay? So in summary, there are new technologies outside there that need to be tried. It is tried and tested everywhere else, but it needs to be implemented in the Caribbean. There are a number of barriers to energy efficiency. One, some of a lack of awareness of technology. Okay, and CRAF can help that because CRAF could provide technical assistance for that as well, right? The technology risk. Again, CRAF will do the technical assistance and provide the credit guarantees for it as well. Lack of project developers. So CRAF is having this seminar here to get you guys out here to get into become project developers. I've seen throughout the Caribbean, there are not many project developers. There's enough work for everybody, enough. I can't do, I have enough, I'm full. So there's a lot of opportunity for small and medium enterprises in Grenada to come out and get into this energy business. And I think maintenance, all through the Caribbean, I've been to Bahamas, Jamaica this year, everywhere, the maintenance, technical support maintenance. I'm from Trinidad. Why am I doing the maintenance at St. George University? You know, I have 4 Grenadians employed. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I said, listen, I have 3 Trinidadians and 4 Grenadians. I said, let me remove one of my Trinidadians and hire next Grenadian. They're worried. They say maybe December, that's SGU. Maybe December we wait because we're not sure the skill set is there as yet. So I'm talking to Leslie Smith, I don't know if he's here, from the Grenada Ministry, about getting training programs for technical people in not just Grenada, it needs to be done to the entire Caribbean. And just before I end, one maintenance job bill. Did I tell you one job we did maintenance with? Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning, the amount of money we found that we saving for SGU in one maintenance building with maintenance, proper maintenance. So that's very important. So I think that's what I have for now. Yeah, so thank you very much. And CRAF, I said, is the missing link, definitely. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Escalante. If I didn't know better, I would think you were working at the CDF. All right, so now we come to our third and final live question. So pull out your mobiles again. And the question is, how optimistic are you about transitioning your business to cleaner energy over the next 2 years? So again, the question, how optimistic are you about transitioning your business to cleaner energy over the next 2 years? So while we wait for the question, I've just been asked to make an announcement. We are at the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Project Identification Forum, but next door in the Trinidad room is the Youth Skills Program. So just letting you know, if you now realize that you're at the wrong forum. All right, so so everyone is at the right forum. All right, great. So we're just waiting for the third and final question to be displayed on the screen. And immediately following the final question, okay, there we go. We will have a presentation from the team at the CARICOM Development Fund, who will be providing an overview of CRAF, which is why everyone is here today, of course. All right, so we will come back to that final question, but you could still have it in your mind considering how optimistic are you about transitioning your business to cleaner energy over the next 2 years. So I now invite Mr. Wayne Vitalis and Sario Millard from the CARICOM Development Fund to deliver an overview of CRAF.
I think that's the first adjustment of the mic for the morning, right? Thank you. Honorable Karen James, did I pronounce it properly? Yes. Honorable Karen James, Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy. Mr. Rodney Suma, Chief Executive Officer of the CARICOM Development Fund, other distinguished speakers and presenters this morning, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, small business operators and entrepreneurs in this room. You are one of the focal groups that we want to address this morning, and we want to help encourage you to get on board. But I also want to, it'd be a little remiss of me if I didn't thank the only unpaid employee of CRAF, Andre, for his brilliant presentation, making that link between what he does and the CRAF product itself and how it's bringing real value to businesses, to financial institutions, and to energy service providers. So just a quick overview so that you get a proper understanding of what we're trying to do. Why are we doing what we're doing? We notice, one, that the region is sitting on a huge amount of liquidity in the financial sector. Banks are sitting on approximately 50 billion US dollars of liquidity. But how much of that is directed to funding renewable energy or even the climate ambition of the region? Very little of that. And even a smaller amount of that is directed to the most vulnerable group in the private sector, which is small and medium-sized enterprises. So we decided that we needed to find a mechanism that will work to bring, or to at least bridge that gap or address that anomaly in the market by, creating an ecosystem that brings the key players together to work together and supporting them almost like the invisible hand. What do I press? Right. This one? Yes. Oh, thank you. Right. So what we did, we brought the ecosystem of three of these players in three main categories. On the demand side, we brought the small and medium-sized enterprises who have that real need, who have that the value proposition to move from high cost of fuel to renewable and cheaper forms and more sustainable forms of energy. That's the first one. But half of them, one, don't know what the value proposition for them is. That's one. Secondly, and even if they know, they really do not have the time to put a proper energy project and proposal before a financial institution. So we needed to find a way that we address that knowledge gap and we help build projects at that level on the demand side and stimulate them. And in order to do that, what we decided to do was to build a second category into the ecosystem called energy service providers. And those energy service providers, their main task is two things. One, with all the energy, the technical knowledge and what they have and so forth, go help the SMEs to build their projects, and we will pay for it. But we want to develop what we call our army of energy service providers in country. That way we are helping to build the market itself. And so you heard the minister speak earlier on of moving projects from concept to bankability. That is what we meant by doing that. So we will help you, we'll handhold you through the process, through the energy service providers. And then on the supply side, we have the financial institutions. And our definition of financial institutions include not just development banks or commercial banks, but any legally operating financial institution, credit union, fund, whatever it is, that is providing renewable energy or climate mitigation finance to small businesses in country. You are eligible to do that, to come as our CRAF financing partner. And that's where we close the circle, through supporting them through three main pillars that the CEO mentioned earlier on. The first is what we call the credit risk instrument. And it is called so deliberately to provide a suite, a number of credit enhancement products. The first one that we are starting off with is a partial risk guarantee that provides up to a certain percentage of coverage for good projects that just fall short of the mark or just outside the boat. And I'll explain that a little later on. The second pillar that is extremely important to the CRAF support is the technical assistance. That technical assistance pillar, which is free, as I said, to members, to all beneficiaries, will be provided not only to SMEs for project pipeline building, but to financial institutions who are just as ignorant, and I don't mean that word in a bad way, about energy and climate mitigation finance. They're not experts. They've been accustomed years doing what the traditional financing is. So to make that transition we have to also help them along that journey. And so capacity building, training banks, you heard the CEO give you statistics earlier on of bank employees that we need to do on a continuous basis, help, and build capacity. But even beyond that, we do institutional strengthening, again, free of charge to them. So for example, if we find weaknesses in the governance architecture that would impact the financing for RE and EE, we will also step in and help them there with technical assistance free of charge to them. If there's anything in their credit adjudication process that does not, they're not fully able to understand, and Andre gave a very brilliant example in Belize that we recently engaged him for. It was greenfield, they didn't know about it, they couldn't understand the feasibility, and we came in and we did the feasibility assessment. But more than that, we left them with a tool. That tool is the part of the institutional strengthening that I speak of. in Belize. And of course, the third pillar, which is also important, is how do we provide feedback? How do we measure our achievement of the key performance indicators that we have set for it? And we do that through the monitoring and evaluation framework of the pillar. So all in all, I hope you understand that what we are doing here is we are not financing projects directly. Another arm of our organization does that. What we are doing is we're telling banks, hey, direct some of that money that you have there to small businesses, and we will help you along the way to give you that kind of comfort to do that. And also we're telling the SMEs, get on board. Don't be afraid to make that transition. And of course, I'll speak to the value proposition a little later on. So in terms of the main characteristics of the partial risk guarantee, which is the first product that we're offering under the credit risk instrument, you'll see that we offer up to a maximum of 80% coverage on principal and interest for any loan that qualifies. And of course, we are not, as we say to the bank and our partners, GDB in Grenada, that we are not interfering with your credit decision. You are the one who's going to decide to lend. But if for several reasons you're not comfortable with the risk and you think that, it's a good project, but I'm a little skeptical, we come in and we provide coverage for you and tell you, go ahead, walk bravely. And that's what we're doing with our partners and the eight financial institutions that we've so far signed on across the region. We do so in terms of the loan sizes for loans as small as little as $25,000 to a maximum of $750,000. But a good thing about the design philosophy of the CRAF is that we are flexible. So we understand that we're dealing with different regions that may have different definitions of what a small business is. And so we adapt and adopt the definition of the country. But we also understand that there may be projects outside of the 750,000 threshold that we've set that are good projects that mean well and will add to the development benefit of the country, and we are prepared to look at those outliers on a case-by-case basis. Of course, the beneficiaries, I said, of the credit risk instrument are all financial institutions, and for loans with a maximum tenor of 10 years. All sectors are included, including agriculture. And a lot of people involved in agriculture believe that they're excluded from that. But you might want energy efficient pumps for irrigation. You may be involved in some aspect of agro-processing that, requires the use of energy. You can cut that cost down and use that money to do something else. So agriculture, the small hotel, the little guest house that you have out in Grand Bay, or where you have it in St. Paul's, if you think so. All of those are eligible to be part of that. So all sectors are included. And so the understanding is that we want to see those entrepreneurs in here, these small businesses, come to us at the end of this and talk to us about your projects. We will, over the next couple of days, visit you personally. So with that, I want to turn over to my colleague who will speak to you about the technical assistance side of things.
Good morning. To the Honorable Minister, good morning to you. To CEO, good morning as well, and our distinguished guest, good morning. Yes, so my name is Sario Millard. I am the CRAF Technical Assistant Specialist with the CDF. And I'm here really just to talk to you today about technical assistance, that pillar, really. And it's really important to note that, one more adjustment for the day. Yes, second adjustment. Let me just. All right. Y'all hearing better now? Yeah. All right, even better. Good. Yeah. So, as I said, just talking about technical assistance, really. And we do that through onboarding ESPs like Andre here. We accredit their qualifications. We make sure that they have the right stuff to do the projects and to assess the projects that you have. And it's at no cost to you, the SME. No cost. And so someone that is that they're producing spices, and they might have crushers, dryers, these sort of things that might take up and be very energy intensive. You might want to install energy efficient equipment or even renewable energy to offset your cost. And this goes to the hotel that wants to install the variable refrigerant flow, which is the VRF that Andre was talking about. And these things help to reduce the cost of you running your business. So businesses within the region, as what we've seen, their cost is around between 13 and 30% of their operating expenditures. And that is significant for you, and wanting to cut that cost within 4 to 5 years, which has that sort of payback period, is something that would be very beneficial to yourself and make you much more competitive. I'm sure you can agree, and to avoid that cost, you would go through, and to do that, you would take a loan, but then we are able now through the CRAF that we guarantee that, yeah? And so through the technical assistance, we are able to develop your projects to a bankable state in such a way that the banks feel comfortable about it, that they know and they can assess your project in a way that they can understand. And so just like you need a translator, your ESP helps to bring the project to a bankable state. That's to do it that way. Yeah. It helps to bring your project to a bankable state, which means that whether we cover feasibility studies, operational feasibility, financial feasibility, that helps to bring your project to that state. And then for larger projects, depending on scale and size, there might be assistance that is rendered to help ensure that the project is executed well while it's monitored. And so these are the types of technical assistance that is available to you. But not only that, it helps to build your capacity, your awareness of it, and your ability to assess your own projects, to see what's going on. Yeah? And so that is the main focus of technical assistance for you. And it's provided by qualified professionals, experts within the region, within the Caribbean, as a primary source, within your own country, from your own countryman, or within your own Caribbean population. Yeah? So that being said, Andrea had covered a number of possible technologies and solutions and things like that. And so I don't want to bore you with all the details of everything out there. But we are focused on various sectors. It doesn't matter the sector. So as I said, whether you are a hotel or a manufacturer, and I will show a case study here. But whether you're a hotel or a manufacturer, there are things within your business that can become much more efficient, that you can become much more sustainable on your bottom line and still benefit the environment. And so CRAF is really focused on technologies that don't have a negative impact on the environment. That's the main goal. And the second part is also that it helps to reduce your cost. Yeah? So in that regard, that's how we support your projects. And there are a number of technologies that are available to you. So from within the building that you have, You might want to change out your lights to LED lights. You might want to change your AC units to whether it be VRF or whether it be inverter units. These are the type of technologies that are there. You might have motors that, if you're, I don't know how many of you might have a swimming pool as your business. There are some people that have swimming pools in other countries, and they teach swimming, and they want to install variable frequency drives so that the pumps can operate much more efficiently rather than running at 100% all the time. So it depends on what your case is, and every case in every business is bespoke. You might have a lot of roof space, which allows you to go completely off grid, or you might be able to do a portion of that to offset that energy cost. But you might also be able to reduce your cost via energy efficiency measures. And so, as a rule of thumb, we normally say that you look at your energy efficiency first, and then we look at your ability to produce renewable energy. So it makes more sense to become as low cost as possible, right? And then if you can produce, you reduce that cost as well, so that the payback period is much shorter and much more agreeable with yourselves. Now, of course, many of you familiar with solar and wind turbines, but for agricultural projects, you might have waste to energy. You might take that waste and do that. And to bring it now to a case study, we looked at a manufacturer in one of the other islands, and they're a food manufacturer. And as you can see, they consume a whole lot of energy. And in doing so, that the cost of the installation was about $2.6 million. And that is a significant cost that can be covered. Yeah? So that you don't have to face that upfront cost. You take that through a loan. The cost of the loan is less than the cost of your energy, and you're able to experience those savings. And the savings, as we see here, were calculated at about $284,000 a year, which is significant to offset the cost for that business. And in so being, that business also wanted to install battery supplies to allow them to operate for a longer period of time. Now, battery banks increase the payback period, but over time, you're able now to completely reduce that cost. Yeah? And so it depends on your risk appetite. It depends on what you are looking to do. But definitely, if you were going without the battery supply, it might have been about 4 or 5 years for payback period. And so it depends on your circumstance. It depends on whatever's going on with you. But definitely, these are things that you can achieve. And so I want to return to my colleague here who will close.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh. Thank you, Sario, and thank you, everyone, for your attention. In closing, what's the clarion call? Clarion call to small businesses is very simple. Get on board. Don't be afraid. You save energy, you save money. You save money, you have resources that you free up for other uses. You grow your business and you become more competitive. Don't be afraid. Come talk to us. We are here. We will work with you. I don't want you to get frightened by all these fancy terms, VAR, and that sounds like another model of Honda CRV. No, don't get hung up. When we come to you, we will speak with you. We will explain every step. That's what Andre's job is. Explain every step of it so that you as the business understand what you are getting in. And most importantly, you know what behavioral changes that you must employ to maximize the benefit of the intervention that we are making with you. That's the clarion call to you. Don't be afraid. And you are not too small to become involved. This part of the session will bring to close all the fancy talk. It's now we're going to come into the field and work with you. And that's why we're encouraging you to come at the end of to meet with us outside. I think you'll be directed a little later on as to where we go. Clarion call to you, Andre, and all the energy service providers who are in the room. This meeting is for you as well, because we want to know who you are in Grenada. We want to sign you on board to CRAF. We want to evaluate you, and we want to officially register you. That way, we can use you to deliver quick technical assistance to business in Grenada that require it. So at the end of it, again, you will be directed to a meeting. That's the value proposition for you. It's an opportunity for you to increase your business, increase your revenue. So why not take advantage of it? But Andre, I also want you and the others in there to actively go out and seek projects. You're the ones on the ground. You know the lay of the land. You know the small businesses. Go, sell it to them. Sell the idea to them. And bring those projects to the financial institution for financing. That's what I want you to do. But also to my dear colleagues at the Development Bank, our CRAF financing partner in Grenada, your behavior also has to change. Change and make a shift in the right direction to diversify your portfolio. Change to encourage your, massage whatever you do with your financial offerings to meet the peculiarities of that energy sector. Develop products that small businesses sitting across from you here can benefit from, and that they can understand will work to their benefits. So your behavior also has to change, because there is something in it for you. Diversification of risk, but also you have an opportunity to grow your bottom line and to become, more importantly, a key player, a leader in the energy sector financing efforts in Grenada. So with that, I encourage all of you, please, come talk to us. My team will be here over the next 2 days. Go in, stick, bookings, make appointments with you, and we'll come physically to explore your projects. And those projects that are deserving of technical assistance will receive technical assistance. We've done that in St. Lucia. We've done that in Belize. We've done that in Dominica. In one instance in Belize, we have one company that has been able to save as much as $70,000 a month. Not a year, $70,000 a month by transitioning from diesel-based energy generation to solar. And that's a significant. The payback was something, Andrew, I'm not sure if you did this one, but the payback was less than 10 years. So there is something in it for you. And I encourage all of you again to meet with us. Energy service providers and the small businesses make appointments with the officers who will be out a little later on. So please, with that, I want to invite the audience for any questions that you may ask, or you may have, or clarifications you want to obtain from us. Not just Sario and myself, but the panelists as well, the presenters, especially the CEO. So, but all of it, anything that is said that you want clarification, how much you have, and I put my CEO on the spot deliberately because you have the big dog in the house. So everything he says, you can take it as gospel. Please. Questions? Oh, where's the microphone for questions? Oh, there.
So we have 3 microphones. This is a safe space, so come with your questions, concerns, anything that was not clear. We have a gentleman coming to the microphone. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Well, I must compliment the hotel today on its AC. No, listen, it's one of the best air I've ever breathed for this year. Anyhow, I want to direct my question to the Honorable Minister and probably Mr. Andrew. Now, you know, Grenada has this thing where you must connect to the grid. So I would like to know, how can a small business like me go truly off grid? Or do we must, or is Grenada the only country in the CARICOM who has this clause in the energy providers mission? Can we truly go off grid? Thank you so very much.
Take that mic. We'll just invite you to the.
So, Kingsley, I don't want you to post me up politically for giving you that response, but I will let the technical people respond on the PURC side, all right? But what I can say, there isn't a spelled out limitation as to you going off grid or not. You can choose to do so for your household use. I think it becomes a challenge when you actually have a business going fully. So I would let Mr. Elliott give you more detail on that in terms of the percentage.
Yeah, so within the legislation, it speaks to the ability to have an off-grid system. There isn't a limit necessarily on what the capacity is for that off-grid system. So if you're desirous of that, there is some information on the PURC website. You could check it out, purc.gd. You could look at the non-interconnected form, and that will provide information on that in that field.
And I would possibly add that there probably is a difference on, you need to distinguish between connected self-generating systems and fully off-grid systems. So your best friends in the conversation is to go both PURC and Grenada to get that so that they understand where you want to really go.
Tested. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd have preferred to come after other people ask their questions, but the traffic to the mic is slow, so I decided to come now. The call to SMEs is heard. I'll ask what I call after the fact. The question is after the fact. After we have heeded your calls,
I think
and have received funding, what if? And I'm basing my question on practical experience. For the past 7 years, I've been a director of the Grenada Development Bank, and we funded quite a bit, 3 or 4 projects. The small IPP I'm talking about. 5 years later, there are some of those persons who are still not able to service their loans because their system is not operational. I got a call last night from a friend who sent me a copy of a demand letter from Grenada Development Bank. His system is not operational because the service provider, the person who did the installation, have not completed the project. He is now faced with a situation. The bank is calling in his loan. I said it's a what if question. What if some of those persons who are here heed your call, get on board, and the service provider does not do what he was contracted to do? Are you going to leave those small businesses in the cold? Are you going to call in their loans? Not because they did not do what they're supposed to do, just because the service provider did not complete his job. The client cannot pay because that project's supposed to generate revenue. Very unfortunate. So my what if question is, can anything be done to help those persons who may find themselves in that situation? None of the problem is not theirs. You see, because financial institutions, as far as they're concerned, you borrow money from me, we want our money back. And when you call in my loan, or you come and remove my panels, I still have to pay. Are you going? I'm coming to CRAF now. In your design, my what if question still, how would you be able to assist those persons if they come on board, if they get their monies, if the project rolls out, but they cannot proceed because the service provider did not fulfill their obligation? It's a real situation. I saw the demand letter. One more thing before I sit. I said to this friend of mine, can't you speak to your financial institution? Don't they know it's not your problem? Can you reach out to the service provider? And as far as I understand, they told him, that's up to you, guy. We can't help. Please help.
Testing. Thank you for that question. So I know Wayne would like to respond, but I would go over to Mr. Cumberbatch first.
Yeah. I'm happy to try to answer, but I'm not sure if I can.
All right, so thank you for the question. Now, the bank has successfully financed some projects that are up and running for sure, and the persons are paying the loan. I mean, the thing about it is that when the bank gives you a loan, of course, the bank contracts with you, right? So, you know, we give you, the bank doesn't have any agreement, per se, with PERC or with Grenada, okay? Of course, if there are circumstances like that, we are oftentimes understanding, and sometimes we give moratoriums, or we give some kind of even consideration to these factors, right? But at the same time, you have to understand that a bank is run with governance, a bank is run with policies, right? And these policies have to be upheld. No, you said that the problem is with the service provider, right? Who has to do the connection. There may be some fundamental reason why that connection is not done. I'm a technical person in finance. I'm not a technical person in electrical engineering or anything like that. So I'm saying there must be some technical reasons why it's not being connected. Sometimes there are standards that has to be met, and this is not met, right? So sometimes, just to have a question like that and to have a straightforward answer is not always possible, because one has to really get down to, well, what are the reasons why the service provider is not actually doing the connection? Do we have these answers? Who is at fault? Is it the service provider or is it the customer? So I think it's difficult to just give a basic answer to something that sometimes require a deeper analysis. But I hope my little response has helped. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Cumberbatch. Over to Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Cumberbatch. And I just want to start off by reminding you that the relationship between yourself and the bank is, we have left that entirely to these two parties. That's the first thing. But it's interesting you asked that question, because only yesterday at training, the bank raised that very same question about incomplete projects. And as the MD rightfully said, there can be any reason for an incomplete project, which means, therefore, that the question of sharing or risk sharing comes into sharp focus. There are risks that the bank would have, and there are risks that the client would have. But what we try to do from a philosophical point of view, where the CRAF is concerned, is to try as much as possible to engage in preventative action. So every facility that we support, every one that we do energy audit or system designs for, we not only give you, assess your energy needs, consumption needs, and so forth, but we also give you the standards to which those things must be built. So, for example, even the kind of inverter units you use for an air condition, earlier on, Andrew said not every inverter is the same. Some perform differently in different environments and so forth. So all of those things, when we do that assessment for you, we point out to you. Beyond that, the bank, and we will work with the bank to try, depending on what the size of the project is, we will work to ensure that it is constructed or implemented to those standards. So we will provide support to the financial institution in partnership with the bank to operate almost like a project manager to the contractor who is building it, so that we can ensure that it's constructed to those standards. But, you also as a client, you have a responsibility. Cheap is not always good. Yes, you must remember that. Cheap is not always good. So we come there and a guy comes to us and says, I can get that for you from South Korea. Man, forget that. North Korea has it even cheaper than that. And then you find out that it does not work in your environment. But that's on you as a client. And you must understand that as well. What we do in the preventative thing is to let you become aware of all of what the risks and pitfalls could be. And so the risk sharing on your part has to be acknowledged by the customer as well. So I hope that, I put it in some kind of perspective for you that will satisfy you.
Can you hear me? No? Are you hearing me? Okay, good. Wayne, I'm happy you didn't bounce that question to me. But just to maybe build on what you said, I think businesses in here should leave this room with clarity as to how they would avoid that problem if it were to arise, how they would deal with it if it actually manifests itself. So, and we said earlier that CRAF is flexible. There are other facilities that the CDF runs where we have technical assistance pillars that provide support not just in project preparation and design, but could also offer services during implementation.
I want to suggest that we should be open to providing that service as CRAF. I want to suggest that we should be proactive and offer that service, especially where we've hired an energy service provider to do the design, and that person can say to us, given the complexity involved or given the risk associated with these systems, I would like to recommend that CRAF also offer technical assistance to support the SME during the implementation phase. I think that is important, and I would want, from CDF standpoint, to say that we should be flexible enough, and we are prepared to be flexible enough to provide technical assistance in implementation. I mean, we do it in public sector projects, right? We oversee the procurement. We hire consulting engineers to go and ensure that the installations are done properly. We just did that in Suriname. We did a microgrid in Suriname. I went there myself. And the sustainable energy specialist was with me. And he physically went to the solar panels and to see if certain installations were done correctly, and some of them were not done correctly. There is a need to have someone to take responsibility for ensuring that these installations are done to design. And I want to suggest very strongly that we are prepared to be flexible enough to provide that service as part of the technical assistance we provide. And I want to challenge our energy service providers to identify the need for these to avoid these problems arising, and for us to allocate the resources under the technical assistance pillar to provide those services as well.
All right, any other questions, comments? Now it's time. Well, I guess everything was clear, I take it. All right, so if there are no further questions, I now invite Mr. Nikolai Lane, CRAF analyst at the CARICOM Development Fund, to deliver closing remarks.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ria, for welcoming me on. As I heard the questions posed, one of the things that came to mind is that we really have to sit down and reflect and have a pulse of what's happening in the environment. And I think it's important that you raise these questions so we have a deeper understanding of what's happening with the implementation of these type of technologies. All right, thank you. But as we close today, I want to thank our distinguished guests, partners, businesses, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to thank each and every one of you for coming, your presence, participation, and enthusiasm in today's discussion really help us to see how Grenada can transition to a more sustainable and energy efficient economy. This is not merely an aspiration, but I believe that we can achieve these opportunities. On behalf of the CARICOM Development Fund, I want to extend our sincere appreciation to our Chief Executive Officer, Rodney Sumer, for his leadership and continued commitment to advancing sustainable development across the Caribbean. We are also deeply grateful to our valued partners and special guests, Mr. Royston Cumberbatch, General Manager of the Grenada Development Bank, the Honorable Minister Karine James, Minister of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, the Chief Executive Officer of the Grenada Investment Development Corporation, Mr. Ronald Theodore, and our representative from the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Raheem Elliott. We also want to extend our thank yous to Mr. Andre Escalante, Managing Director of Energy Dynamics, as he presented cases of what he's seeing across the Caribbean and what we would be familiar with. Your contributions have provided invaluable insight into Grenada's business environment, energy landscape, and we do see that enterprises can benefit from these opportunities in renewable energy and energy efficiency. So to the small and medium-sized business today, the most important message here that we can extend is start with us. Sign up. We want to hear about your projects. Whether you're considering solar energy or any form of energy efficiency implementation, we are here to support you. Through our technical assistance team, we collaborate with qualified energy service providers, and we also partner with the financial institutions to ensure that there's available financing for the needs that you have within the renewable energy and energy efficiency space. We encourage you not to allow today's conversation to end with merely a project idea, but we want to encourage you to let us help you as we move from idea to implementation. To all our speakers, partners, exhibitors, and members of the organizing team, thank you for making this event possible. And thank you for believing in the potential of our product as we help move Grenada to a sustainable future. So as we end, what I want to do is welcome SMEs to come to me on the registration booth so that I can have an understanding of your project ideas and get you signed up for some site visits for those who have those projects, and also for the energy service providers here present to go to the booth on my immediate right so that we could get you onboarded onto the CRAF ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikolai. So that brings us to the end of this forum, Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Project Identification Forum, hosted by the CARICOM Development Fund in collaboration with the Grenada Development Bank. So just to let you know, if you visit, well, thank you again to the members on the podium, and I invite you to join the audience. Thank you. Oh. And I invite everyone to remain and join us for refreshments as well. So I want to thank you especially for being with us here today, looking at the opportunities for investment for small and medium enterprises through the credit risk abatement facility. And I wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you again. Okay. Just to let you know, we are presenting Minister James with a special token. Okay. We also have some special gifts for all registrants here today. So you can proceed to the table at the back
to the right of the room. So all registrants, you have a special token to take away from this forum. Thank you.